Ow! Greetings, YouTube. This is DecKrash, better known as Brandon. I'm back again with another Defiance review. Well, I could probably say at long last, and well, before I even start, I owe my listeners a big apology. I promised that I would stay on point with all the Defiance reviews, and really what happened is, and I guess I have to go to a little bit of explanation why I've been just nowhere to be found for the last few weeks, is that I suffered an injury that kind of left me bedridden for several days, and still not in the best of conditions to do much of anything for several weeks. And all the time I was collecting the episodes of Defiance, but I wanted to have a time where I could just sit down and watch all of them and marathon them. So it's a combination of my injury and laziness, because yeah, I know some of you out there are like, how would an injury keep you from watching anything? Because I watch all these things on my computer, and I could have probably watched them earlier on. I think I was just kind of in a really big funk lately because of that injury, but I'm feeling much better now, and I finally got a chance to keep up with the episodes now, and I've managed to watch all the episodes up from episode 3 to 9, which I had missed, and oh wow. I didn't. I was hoping they'd be able to match the second season, and the writers have outdone themselves. And I'm kind of upset that I missed out for so long on this, because it's just been getting better and better. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to sit there and marathon through everything, so I wasn't kept in suspense about what was going to happen next for every episode. So it's pretty intense. So once again, this is just going to be sort of a retrospective on these few episodes. And yes, I'm looking forward to the last, I think, 3, if I was looking back on Wikipedia properly. Give me just one second. Uh, Let me see. Episodes. Oh, the last one was okay, 1, 2. Excuse me, 4 episodes. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm looking forward to the last 4 episodes, and so I'm just gonna be doing a retrospective on these episodes that I was sitting there watching, and man, I mean, I was glad to be able to see the whole story arc of the Ramtak invasion, or attempted invasion, of course, as we've seen. Oh, and before I go any further, yes, people, there will be big honking spoilers. If you have not caught up with Defiance, I highly recommend you do that first, then come back and listen to me. Okay? Okay, so as I was saying, with the almost military conquest of Defiance, it just seemed so much happened. I mean, the whole season thus far had been, a struggle to try to figure out something, especially after having Daytak and Stama deliver those weapons, which had those creatures. I keep forgetting what they're called, but they eat through metal, and so it destroyed Defiance's entire weapons cache. And then they're given orders by Ramtak, and they ended up blowing up the arch. Well, the arch wasn't exactly in the best of shape. I'm surprised they allowed anybody up there, even though there was a place where people broadcasted their records. And then seeing Alak's valiant escape from the VC camp. And every episode that featured the VC just showed what kind of sick, twisted butchers they were. And and then if you it's as if Ramtak wasn't a sick, twisted creature enough. They bring in his wife, this Arathian lady, who was sent from South America, and you find out that Ramtak is doing a complete solo action, that he had no permission from the VC to go into North America and to try to do what he did. But no, he was cutting a swath of death and destruction to try to claim North America for the Botanis Collective. And it was just all because he had a personal grudge against humans. You know, again, when you think about it, and of course you have to kind of know the fluff behind the series to understand when the Votans first came to Earth. You know, they just wanted a place to live, and the Earth kind of humans kind of hemmed and hawed, and there was a lot of issues of just people who were just paranoid about the Votans, even though they came, as friends. And of course, it was the humans' fault that the Votans went to war to begin with. They killed the Votanus collective representative on live on TV, and pissed the Votans off. But anyway, but that's a cool thing is that the series, of course, explains all this in context. So it's not a whole lot that you don't know about it. Reading the fluff just gives you a much broader understanding of the story. But anyway, yeah, Rontok had a personal issue, of course, with the humans, was just cutting swath of death and destruction all throughout North America, going up to Defiance. And then the VC sent his wife, thinking, I guess they must have thought, well, if anyone can convince him otherwise, it's his wife. And he ends up killing her in bed. Well, it wasn't really in bed, because she was sitting in a chair with that knife in her gut. But you just see what kind of an animal and just how obsessed Ramtak is. And of course, as we see as the story progresses, that obsession becomes his undoing because he's so utterly confident he's got, Defiance right where he wants it. And he, of course, underestimates the ingenuity of humans and, of course, of Nolan. And then, of course, there was that episode where they found Pottinger, where Nolan and Amanda go in that military bunker, which is being run by those biomen, and you find out that Pottinger just went completely bug nuts, living underground for all these months, and he even rigged up that dead man trigger. If he dies, the whole place gets swallowed up in a singularity, which was quite a sight to behold when it happened. But having what they needed slip through their fingers, and then suddenly turn around and find the weapons they need through the charity of a weapons dealer who was dealing weapons to the VC. Now, of course, I guess it was just playing on the whole deal with Von Bach and, weapons dealers just going to sell to whoever's going to give him the money. But of course, because he knew Berlin, he wanted to do a favor her to show her that he's not such a bad guy. And then Berlin ends up leaving with them. I mean, that was just in that episode. That was just a low blow. I was just sitting there like, girl, really? This town sheltered you. They helped you out. Even the mayor, she was just really upset because she treated her like a sister, and she just up and left right when the town needed somebody with her kind of expertise because she was a former member of oh my god of the Earth. I keep wanting to say Earth Alliance, but all know what I mean. Oh, good grief. Every single time I'm trying to remember the name of the military force. But all that aside, of course, that was now defunct anyway, so so it's really not much of a difference. But still, just seeing Berlin just haul off with Von Bach at the end, even though the town now had weapons to defend itself, was just one of those things that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And then, of course, when Ilak finally comes home, wow, that to me was just amazing. Of course, he saw his mom kill Christy, and and of course, he knew his parents had been betraying the Defiance to the VC, and so he managed to get his revenge. And well, even though he didn't completely understand, and yes, even though Stama, regrets having to kill Christy. I mean, it was either her or Christy, and if she didn't do it, they would have killed her and would have killed Christy anyway. Daytax would have got more blood on his hands, but then again, both of them were being forced to do it. They were going to kill Alak. But that's just a whole twisted thing that develops, of course, with the Tar family. Oh, good lord. I mean, even after they got the baby back, and wow, man, I mean, to me, the Pilar's death was a little anticlimactic. and some people weren't quite sure if she was dead or not. We didn't exactly see her dead. You saw her get shot in the chest, but they didn't really show much of her after that, and I'm kind of surprised with that. I'm wondering if she truly is dead. And like some fans of the show, I'm probably one of those who was saying, well, you can't keep Linda Hamilton down. I mean, oh my gosh, she's Sarah Connor after all. So I'm kind of wondering if Pilar's still alive or not. I don't know. I guess that, as the story progresses, we'll find out, or maybe not. But all that drama, of course, with the baby and with the TARS and Alak turning on his own parents, was just a stroke of writing genius. I mean, everything that's coming out. I mean, this is like Game of Thrones level of complexity, and I love every bit of it. It's just that I'm hoping that Alak can at least forgive his mother. Yes, Stama is just as conniving and cold and calculating as well, just as conniving at least as Daytak, but she's actually the smarter one of the duo. She's a lot more patient and knows how to play the demure, polite, sweet lady when she needs to. Of course, the Olmec Tvegan, saw right through all that, but that's another story for another time. So all this leading to Daytak getting caught just so he can save Stama, and Stama having to find refuge with the Olmec, and Kinsey, the female Olmec, doesn't really like her all that much. But Daytak accepting execution by the shaming rack thing, where they basically they literally put you on the rack. That was pretty interesting that he would have that kind of humility, and then having that moment where they needed somebody to go into the VC camp when they were outside of Defiance. They were going to try to cut off Defiance's supplies, and Doc Ewell telling them how to turn the gate into basically a bomb. But they needed somebody to go out there with the trigger implanted in them, so they chose Daytak to go and redeem himself, even though it would be a suicide mission. Which leads to one of the most amazing and yet gruesome moments of that entire series, Daytak cutting his arm off. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. I was sitting there with my mouth just wide open. It was more of a good and yet, you know, just shocked, mouth hanging open. Not so much horrified as just shocked to see him cutting his own arm off. And I think that I was thinking the same way as everybody else, because as I was saying, I've been looking at some of the reviews on Den of Geek, and that particular moment, people thought that he was betraying Defiance. You all thought that he had actually was just trying to play for the winning team, and you saw him cut his own arm off. And I'm like, what? I thought maybe he was trying to cut through the device, or maybe they planted it all in his arm or something. He used the laser sword to cut his own arm off. And I'm like, what the? What can you say to that? And then him asking for permission to go outside, and they want to add it to their collection. And the whole time, Nolan is looking on the computer screen with the countdown before the bomb goes off. And I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. Because I think not only me, but everybody who was watching the show at the moment thought that, the Daytak had pretty much turned against Defiance and was just going for the winning team. But no, his loyalty was to Defiance. He actually just left his arm behind so he could haul out of there, away from the bomb, which was just one of the most amazing moments of the whole series thus far. And so you see him laying there in the grass, kind of laughing, and which is kind of odd because I was going back over some of the data for Defiance before I started this video. And one of the wikis for Defiance showed Daytak as deceased, and I think that the rumors of his death are probably greatly exaggerated. Even though everybody, of course, is treating Daytak like, a hero now, but, of course, Amanda offered a pardon for Stama. So, but of course, in Defiance, she's now persona non grata. And this kind of leads me to wonder why she doesn't just leave Defiance. Her son hates her guts. Her husband, well, at least she believes he's dead. And everyone in town hates her. Yes, I know the whole deal. You could say, well, Defiance is her home. I'm like, if I lived in a city where everybody hated me and I had no attachments there anymore, even if I had my own son and he hated me, I would say, fine, I'll go somewhere else. You know, but then again, maybe it's just a Castathan thing. Who knows? Oh man. And then, of course, speaking of Stama, you have, of course, the B plot involving Stama and her interesting relationship with the Tevgin, excuse me. And Tevgin is a very interesting character. All the stuff you hear about the Olmec, about how they're vicious monsters, they went to the every what was it every 40 years their planets would no 75 years their planets would come into alignment with the Votanus system, and the Olmec would launch their ships and begin what they call the Dread Harvest, where they would just kidnap and take away Votans, use them for slaves and sexual playthings, and when they got bored with them, they just eat them. And yet, one, of course, Kinsey seems to be a very classic Olmec, seeing everybody else as beneath her and wanting nothing more than to just chase these inferior beings, humans and all, down for food. Whereas Tevgin seems to be very old and very wise and just kind of really believing that the Olmec don't that don't need this anymore. They need to actually learn to live in harmony with the Votans. And of course, there's only so many of them left. Even if though, of course, that episode where you saw the inside of their ship with all those stasis pods, and there looked to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of them. But of course, it's only one Olmec ship. And Tevkin seems to be more reasonable, even though he's trying to stay out of this whole issue with the Votanus Collective. Which seems to reason that if Tevkin wants to gain peace for his people, I mean, if the Votanus Collective won, well, I guess it wouldn't really matter either way. The humans wouldn't mind the Olmec being there. The Votans, if the Olmec were willing to live alongside of them peacefully, they would be willing. And even if not, if the Olmec would try to take over, there really wouldn't be much the Votanus Collective could do about it. So this is an interesting situation here. And of course, we haven't seen much more than that. Of course, Kinsey, showing Stama the whole ultimate plan, hoping that this would cause Tevkin to have no choice but to kill her. And then, of course, Tevkin says, "No, I'm not going to kill you. I want something different for my people." And of course, Kinsey acting like a spoiled brat. And then, of course, the episode after the end of the whole issue with the VC, you have Kinsey going out on her own clandestine hunts involving clones of Doc Yule. Pretty ingenious, I will admit. If you can't kill the one you hate, just make a bunch of clones of her to kill it yourself. And then, of course, she couldn't help herself and decided to extend her menu to other members of Defiance, which, of course, put her on Tevkin's bad side. And Tevkin ended up sticking her back into stasis pods aboard the ship. Good for you, Tevkin, but I think this is going to come back sooner or later, bite you in the booty hole parts. So, of course, now you have Nolan living with grief because of that episode where they had the VC soldiers that had infiltrated Defiance, and one of them, of course, was that Indigene who was disguised as a human. Fortunately, Arissa managed to snap out of her own PTSD, I guess you could say, because, of course, when they were training with that militia group, she had that waking dream with Tommy. And that was pretty sad, of course. And by the way, before I even go any further, that was pretty interesting development with the relationship between Nolan and Arissa. And of course, Nolan finding that Arissa has just become unreliable because she's been choking up every time she needed to kill. And yeah, she should have killed Ram Tak and just couldn't even bring herself to do that. It would have ended the whole situation long ago. But of course, that didn't happen. And Well, that episode where you found out about the weird thing that was connecting the two from the first episode of the season when they were found inside that stasis pod by Tevkin. Found out, of course, being that piece of arc brain that was growing in their brains, connecting them together, like that episode of Star Trek between Captain Picard and Beverly Crusher when they were on that planet with those two xenophobic, not xenophobic, just paranoid nations. But anyway, uh, of course, them experiencing each other's memories through that arc brain helped them to better understand each other. Even though, of course, a lot of what they saw about each other, neither of them liked, but of course, they found they needed each other regardless. But it seems now the tables have kind of turned, with Nolan being less sure about himself because of the episode where the VC member, the Indogene, had turned on them and threw that bomb down the cave, killing all the members of that militia, and especially that Erathian guy's son. I was hoping they would have done more with him because he seemed to be an interesting character and a good sharpshooter. But I guess it made it even more tragic to see him die like that. And now Nolan's, riddled with guilt over him, leading all these people to their deaths. So now he's stumbling around drinking, and then of course that whole episode, him trying to find out who was killing people in Defiance, and of course finding really weird that it's Indogene blood he's finding all over the place. But I really do feel sad about for Nolan now, and so I'm hoping that this is not going to drag him too deeply into the ground as a character. And of course, how the most recent episode ended when you found out about Kinsey making the clones of Doc Yule and then putting that weird controlling mechanism in her, which surprisingly the doctor didn't try to remove. And when that other doctor, who of course they found in that underground bunker, who was kind of her assistant, was asking so many questions, and well, I'm not sure if she sedated him or killed him. I'm hoping she didn't kill him. But of course, that remains to be seen for the next episode. But of course, it raises a lot of questions, leaves you wondering what's going to happen next. And I really think that for the last four episodes is um, probably going to center around the Olmec. The last few episodes, from what I'm seeing, the next one's coming out this Friday, When Twilight Dims the Sky Above. The next episode of A Demon in My View. Next episode, The Awakening, and the final episode of the season, Upon the March We Fittest Die. So, leading up to the end of this month, I think it's going to be quite an interesting series of events. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this season ends. It's been a pretty wild ride thus far, and I'm kind of surprised that they ended the story arc with the VC so quickly, And of course, fortunately, they made it pretty clear that Ramtak and his crew were all dead, showing Ramtak getting caught up in that blaze. So, yeah, finally got rid of that clown. But I'm wondering what's going to happen next. Defiance, of course, the gate that they used as a bomb is no longer there, so they're open to anything that can come through into the city. The city is woefully undergunned. Uh, the what you call the even though the people are happy, they're pretty vulnerable. And then of course there's the looming big question mark that is the Olmec. And I think that this is going to probably bring the whole story with the Olmec into view. Don't know if they're going to leave on a cliffhanger like they did at the end of the first season, which of course the events of the second season finally resolved, or there's going to be two complete story arcs in this one. It remains to be seen. But all in all, I am really, really happy about what's been going on thus far and how everything played out thus far. And the characterization has gotten more complicated. The Tars still remain probably one of the best dysfunctional families since the Lannisters. Love, of course, Nolan as a character and Orissa, and the interplay between them has gotten very good. This season's thus far been very personal with them, a lot more so than the previous season was. And then, of course, Amanda having to deal with just all the scars of her life. People leaving her, people coming back in, and having to hold the town together through a famine, and then through the threat of everyone just being killed and taken from them by the VC. And despite all the despicable things that Stama has done, I hope that she and Alak be re can be reconciled, because they did have that one part where she confessed to uh, Tevgin. Sorry, his name is a little hard to pronounce. About how much she loved her son, saying, she was saying, "I'll never let you go." And then when she sees Alak again, you think it's going to be a tearful reunion, and then Alak just starts wailing on her. It's kind of heartbreaking. Because, there are a few things in life that Shtama truly loves, and her son is one of them. I'm hoping that Alak can be a good father to their little baby. Of course, the half-casty baby he named Lucas. And and of course Doc Yule just keeps staying Doc Yule with her sarcastic humor. And I'm hoping I see more of Berlin. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with her. But that's pretty much it for me. These few episodes that I finally caught up on have been some of the best I've seen in any science fiction. And I'm sincerely hoping that Defiance still continues to grow and still becomes a much better show as time passes. I mean, it's really gotten good, and I hope that it's going to continue to get good. So, what did you guys think? Leave me a response down below if you feel so inclined. Comment, rate, subscribe. As always, keep it civil. You know, I don't have anything to say for trolls except you've been deleted. So once again, everyone, that's me and my Defiance review, and I will be back this Friday, Lord willing, for another review of the next episode. So be sure to look forward to it. And so until next time, everyone, this is DecKrash, better known as Brandon, and as always, stay lucky and stay blessed. Take care.